A wandering monk was trying to clear his doubt. He asked the question, how to realize that all the world is God? Maharshi answered, if you make your outlook that of wisdom, you will find the world to be God. Without knowing the Supreme Spirit, how will you find His all-pervasiveness? I'm going to explain this a bit. So this is a natural doubt that comes when we hear the words of the scriptures saying that this whole world is indeed God. We ask the question with the particular hope that if the answers are going to be provided by the scriptures, they will also give us a method to see all this as God. But Maharshi says something completely different here. He says without knowing God or knowing the Supreme Spirit, there is no way one can realize that this world is indeed God. So the only method that exists is to realize Brahman. And this realization is what changes the way you perceive reality. You see everything as Brahman, but it is seen from an intuitive experience. You should understand that it's not meant to change the way you think. You see, your mind has seen the truth, it has known the truth. So, truth will force fit, it will bulldoze its way into your perception. In fact, that is the only way to realize that all this is God, all this is Brahman. The mind has to be colored with it. You don't have a method. Somebody can say, imagine consciousness, imagine light, and look at all of this as light, as the form of Brahman. All these sadhanas are possible. You can train the mind to change the way you think, but you cannot train the mind to see all this as Brahman in the truest sense. All the rest are sadhanas, and sadhanas you may do so that you may converge your way of looking at existence as variety into one form of reality. But to see it as Brahman in the actual sense, the only way possible is to turn the mind into that knowledge-driven vision. For that, the right direct realization of Brahman is necessary. One may say, this Brahman entity of seeing Brahman everywhere, should I make it like an entity? And one should refrain from that. One should not confuse it to be an entity. It is to be understood as a Supreme Spirit, the underlying reality. And that underlying reality is found in the one who is searching for it, in the questioner itself, in the inquirer. The point being that you cannot create an entity called Brahman separate from yourself. That Brahman, that entity that you call Brahman, is within you. The inquirer is asking what is Brahman. The answer is the inquirer itself, and that has to be figured out. So the whole effort is to look within, but we cannot look within because we are controlled by this power called Maya. And what this does is it makes you look outward. It gives a strength to names and forms. It gives them an appearance, and it injects them with reality. Now, if you remove all of this, if you remove name and forms, if you remove the appearances, if your mind is not stuck with all of that, and if you just see reality as it is, then it is recognized as the pure sense of being in yourself. If you remove your names, if you remove how you look, if you remove how you think, if you remove how you react, if you remove all your emotions, you will find yourself to be that pure being. And that is what Maharshi is asking us to figure out, to find out. If you want to find out the nature of this all-pervasiveness, you have to realize that all-pervasive nature within you. And that is the whole subject matter of the Vedanta. The subject matter is to bring about a shift in understanding of who am I. What is the obvious error-driven nature of who am I? It is this egocentric entity. But that is completely different from the real, effortless, free nature of who I am. When that is realized, it is not that after that an all pervasiveness is realized in the sense that it is continuously expanding. It simply means that the realization brings about a sense of never being separate from anything or anyone whatsoever. That is how you know Brahman. That is how you become aware of all pervasiveness. One should not assume that this all pervasiveness is something that is time oriented, that expands. You have to understand all pervasiveness to be coupled with the idea of non duality. Otherwise, the mind will continue to look at it as something that is pervading. One has to understand that it is not pervading this existence. It is at this very point in this very individual, and therefore the individual itself is the supreme self. The true sense of I is the supreme Brahman itself. It now does not have to search for that supreme pervasiveness, which is there in the form of one's own being. And that is how one's own vision, like I said, is being bulldozed into seeing this whole world as God. You cannot see anything but God. In the sense, you cannot see anything but the self within you. You see yourself as the self in all. So when you say God, it does not mean that you're seeing something special. It simply means you're never going to see anything that is limited. You're never going to see anything that is bound. You're never going to see anything that is subject to mutation. Though the appearance is bound, it is subjected to mutation and it is limited. The vision of realization completely changes it upside down, so to say.